And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird.
Following the recent decline in viewership, Sue Bird has come full circle when discussing Caitlin Clark. Disinterest in the WNBA.
This is what we want. Instead, we're still getting bullshit on viewership numbers.
Between the two, things became quite tasty, and Stephen A. was not going to stand by while Caitlin Clark was denigrated. Throughout the season, Stephen has supported Caitlin, and he has no intention of stopping now.
What do you mean ESPN? So because I work at my day job on ESPN, I'm supposed to ignore the facts?
Stephen pointing out the facts didn't sit well with Sue Bird. There is a decline in viewership and a lack of genuine curiosity. While watching the WNBA championship game, these are the facts.
Seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product that ESPN
that they invest in?
Yeah, that's where these viewership numbers are coming. Yeah, it's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand the framing.
Even though Stephen works for ESPN, he still expresses his genuine thoughts about the situation. Caitlin is quite alluring, and the WNBA has been having trouble keeping the same numbers without her. According to Sue Bird, throngs are still. Stadiums are still packed with spectators, but this is because the cost of tickets has drastically decreased. 10 for a playoff game ticket. That is absurd. However, do we truly believe that Caitlin's participation in the WNBA would be charging the same price for tickets? Clearly not.
To see tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
One of the most revered individuals in women's basketball and a WNBA star, Sue Bird, has suddenly found herself at the focal point of an unanticipated and intense dispute. It all started when Bird allegedly accused Caitlin Clark of. For the recent decline in ticket sales and WNBA playoff ratings, Bird's remarks were unexpected to many, since Clark's influence on the sport has received high appreciation for garnering a lot of attention.
Shannon Sharp starts to talk about the attendance and says, basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark played her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10,000, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge in Indiana to play a home game. So they absolutely did not have the highest attendance
of the WNBA, and claimed that it might prosper outside the influence of a single player. Sue Bird was not frustrated, only intended for Stephen A. Smith. She also criticized Shannon Sharp, who had similarly emphasized the enormous exposure women's basketball had received thanks to Caitlin Clark. Sharp and Smith had both been vociferous in their appreciation of Clark, frequently citing her as a major factor in the increase in viewership and interest in the activity. But Bird believed that the WNBA's larger initiatives were being undermined by this emphasis on Clark. As a longtime supporter of women's basketball, Bird insisted that the league's expansion shouldn't be connected to one player, thinking that teamwork would be more successful than individual star power alone.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in viewership.
However, it is difficult to deny the situation's reality due to Caitlin Clark's outstanding college basketball performances, tremendous attention, and many believed that the WNBA playoffs would be a smooth transition for this momentum. The WNBA had a big problem without Clark: how to keep the excitement high and the interaction she had created with her fans. Suddenly, the league was in a tight place, trying to figure out how to maintain the same degree of interest while filling the gap left by her absence.
With Stephen A. and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them defending their stances on her. We were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing gem, a unicorn.
The WNBA reduced playoff ticket prices as one strategy to counteract the drop in interest. Games. Fans soon saw that ticket costs had decreased in the absence of Caitlin Clark, a blatant sign that the league was trying to fill seats. At first glance, it seemed that the WNBA was effectively selling out games and sustaining high attendance, but the truth was more nuanced. Lowering ticket costs was a calculated move to prevent the humiliation of unfilled arenas during important games. Although this gave the impression that demand was great, the actual level, considerable attention among fans, The league was able to keep stadiums crowded by lowering prices, but it concealed the underlying problem that the zeal and focus just weren't the same without Clark.
But if you guys take a look at the stands, all the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
It's very likely that the arenas would have remained the same if the WNBA had maintained ticket prices at the same level as during Caitlin Clark's season. Would have been much less packed. The league was able to preserve the appearance and fill seats by cutting pricing of high attendance. However, this strategy was only effective temporarily. However, the numbers present a different picture. Without Clark's constant excitement and buzz, the WNBA has found it difficult to produce the same degree of fan interest. Sue Bird's early endorsement of Caitlin Clark's influence on her current remarks are all the more unexpected in light of sport. When Clark initially appeared on the scene, Bird was one of the first to recognize her enormous potential to transform women's basketball. This shift in strategy implies that Bird is more focused on safeguarding the league's long-term reputation.
We've been to the Liberty Games. They're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there for a regular season.
It's evident that Caitlin Clark's capacity to get significant attention for women's basketball has turned her into a target in some circles as well as a hero. In athletics, this is a typical occurrence. Athletes who quickly become famous frequently encounter criticism, sometimes from people in their own business as well as from competitors. For each and every fan that honors Clark's meteoric rise, some see her achievements as a challenge to the status quo. Another WNBA icon, Sheryl Swoopes, has also voiced conflicting opinions regarding Clark's influence.
Nonsense about things that Caitlin was doing wrong when, in my personal opinion, she was doing nothing but going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all sides, not only from fans.
The league finds it difficult to sustain the same level of interest without players like Caitlin Clark and enthusiasm. She attracted a wider audience by drawing in both casual viewers and ardent basketball enthusiasts that the league has been pursuing for a while. But whenever she's not in the spotlight, the WNBA has encountered difficulties to maintain the same degree of passion and involvement from fans, and the absence of a player with Clark's charm. The league must face the fact that sustaining broad interest becomes considerably more difficult. Uphill struggle. Although the WNBA has grown in popularity and fan base in recent years, it still faces significant obstacles in gaining broad recognition and steady support. A unique phenomenon, Caitlin Clark was an athlete whose skill and character went beyond the game, attracting spectators who might not often be interested in women's basketball.
Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not.
Her capacity to enthrall casual viewers generated a wave of interest that the league has found difficult to duplicate. Now that she's gone, the WNBA is trying to figure out how to keep up that momentum while navigating the challenges of replacing the void left by Clark's star power and maintaining the excitement she created. For her part, Caitlin Clark has stayed committed to her craft, continuously delivering top-notch performances in spite of the increasing. She was surrounded by attention and noise. It's getting harder as her star keeps rising. To disregard the increasing number of critics, some people unavoidably push for motivations ranging from jealousy to insecurity. Back against an athlete who seems to have it all: a quick ascent, devoted fans, and unquestionable skill.
It made people stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharpe and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't what we do.
Despite her enormously beneficial influence on the sport, Clark has had her fair share of detractors and haters. These critics frequently seem more interested in undermining her achievements than recognizing them. She has drawn interest in and enthusiasm for women's basketball. Nevertheless, Clark has maintained his concentration on her performance, handling the pressure and criticism with grace, while she keeps improving the sport and her game. Overall, this issue is especially annoying because of the criticism directed against Caitlin. Clark doesn't seem to be motivated by anything she's truly done incorrectly. Conversely, her extraordinary fame has. increased awareness of women's basketball and contributed to the WNBA's overall improvement. Clark's outstanding performances and attractive personality had not only attracted new admirers, but also generated new discussions regarding the sport's future. However, Clark has encountered skepticism rather than widespread recognition for these achievements, and occasionally overt animosity from some quarters. This criticism seems unwarranted because Clark has done nothing but succeed and raise awareness of the sport, giving it the attention the league has always desired.
You're going to see WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlyn is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlyn Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. Yeah. She brings in all the things. We know this, we've said.
Although this practice of undermining accomplished female athletes is not new, it is especially disheartening. Regarding women's basketball, a sport that continues to aim for widespread acceptance and reverence like LeBron or Michael Jordan, Caitlyn Clark has the potential to be a game-changing player. James had the potential to draw spectators and take the NBA to new heights, but some in the WNBA seem reluctant to support her and take advantage of the momentum she brings. To completely accept what Clark stands for, this unwillingness to encourage her fame reveals more serious fears. Rather than the WNBA, innovative success in the sport is occasionally faced with opposition. Sue Bird can see the strain, and on the one side, Bird has consistently supported the WNBA's achievements and desires the league to prosper whether or not Caitlyn Clark is a member. She is aware that in order for the WNBA to endure over time, beyond a single star player, it must be perceived as robust and dynamic, but it's hard to overlook that. The league's recent success is largely due to Clark's capacity to draw in spectators and provide. Bird's public annoyance with pundits such as Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith probably is motivated by a desire to prevent the WNBA from appearing unduly reliant on Clark.